We are back for UFC 318 down in Louisiana where the alligators grow so mean. We are coming off of a fantastic card in UFC Nashville, 11-1 on the picks. That was fantastic for us. For the crew that always says, but 138, you picked too many underdogs. I guess technically you were right. I did pick Nate Landwehr. He did lose. It was unfortunate. That was the only fight we got wrong, and it was an underdog. But I got the rest of them right, which was quite a few. I don't know. Either way, good card for us. I was thrilled with it. I probably should have picked Morgan Charrier, and you can rub that in my face. 318 is going to be another fun card. I love it. The Southern United States cards, the crowd gets wild. It's a good time. Here we are. We've got some hometown favorites on the card. We've got, it's a fun one from start to finish. The star power maybe isn't as good at the top, but is a fun card nonetheless. Now, any odds mentioned in this breakdown are brought to you by CloudBet. You can use the link below to support the channel. I do appreciate it very much. And you can get yourself a very special, very nice welcome package by doing so. So please do that. I enjoy it when you do that. It helps the channel when you do that. So thank you. Let's go ahead and break down some fights. Matchup at 125 pounds that I think should be a very fun fight. We have Carli Judice, who is 3-2 in her last five, but that's a bit misleading because the two losses are both split decisions where she outlanded her opponents in striking contests. And not by just like a slight margin. She outlanded by over 20 strikes in at least one of them. I believe both of those. Maybe I'm wrong about one of them. But either way, she definitely could have and probably should have, by my estimations, won those fights. But I can understand they were very competitive fights and the judges don't really get to see the numbers, things like that. How, you could go either way. But honestly, she could be undefeated in her career right now. Those two split decisions were extremely close. She's fighting Nicole Caliari, who's 4-1 in her last five, with a little bit more experience under her belt. She's 8-3 as opposed to the 4-2. Anyway, when we break this down, Nicole Caliari, she's a good striker with good footwork, puts together combinations where she'll put her punches and kicks together, which is what you want to see. Her output does start a little bit slow, but she builds as the fight goes on and puts out pretty good output late in the fight. So that's why it gets the positive negative. Yeah. She, first round, she's not putting out a ton of volume. She's figuring out a range, things like that. That's okay because she does build into it. Now, good grappler as well. She's got good cage push and control there. Her trips are good. She'll attack submissions. But we have seen her, at least on the regional scene, taken down and controlled, and she can be held on the mat pretty bad. So that's something that we probably won't see here, but it is something to look at, moving forward. I don't think Judice is going out there and grappling. She's a striker through and through. We'll talk about that in a second. But I do think the grappling advantage is on the Caliari side, but when we look at the striking, I think Judice has a bit more output going because this woman is putting out incredible numbers. She's a solid striker with good combinations and will put her punches and kicks together as well. She's a very high volume where she's going to just be throwing high volume the entire fight. Like, she's putting up ridiculous numbers. Ridiculous numbers. I'm pretty sure her and Ernesta on the Contender Series set some sort of record for volume. And I would be surprised if they didn't because that was a ton of output. She doesn't have the best takedown defense, but she does pop right back to her feet. We don't really see her get held down, and that's good to see. Cardio, this girl doesn't slow down a bit. She's fighting at home in Louisiana, which is something that you like to see. Caliari could come out with a grappling-heavy game plan and maybe get something done here, but I think if it stays on the feet, Judice is going to start fast and win that first round with the volume. Second round, she's going to keep the volume. Caliari's going to have to start getting into the volume there, and I think it starts getting close, but I think Judice is going to get out to a good lead in the beginning. And if Caliari doesn't get the takedowns going and get the grappling involved, I think she's going to be too far down to catch back up on the scorecards. So I'm going to take Carli Judice to out-volume Caliari, hopefully win it on the scorecards if they get there. But who knows? We could see another split decision go either way. So with that, I'm probably just going to be watching this one and enjoying it, because I do think that the volume is going to be crazy. But we're taking Judice to get it done in front of a home crowd. Let me know what you think. I'll see you in the next. Try once again to find a matchup for Jackson McVey. Here he is, 6-0, 5-0 in the last five. And we've talked about him quite a bit lately with different matchups. But now he's here. He's taking on Brunno Ferreira, who has been in the UFC for a while now. He's 3-2 in his last five, only 2 losses in the entire career. So pretty good record there. Something you're going to notice immediately, though, when you see these guys standing next to each other, McVey is going to tower over Brunno Ferreira. Tower. He's going to be way taller, way longer and lankier, because Ferreira's a short middleweight as is. McVey's a tall middleweight. So that's going to be something that's very alarming when you see them standing next to each other at the face-offs. But when we look at them skill for skill, a lot of comparable things. For McVey, first off, both of these guys are fast starters. Forgot to write that there. We're just going to do that right now. Look at that. Fast starter. Yeah. But both of these guys are good strikers, good grapplers, fast starters. A lot of similarities in that. For McVey, he's a good striker with good knees and elbows. Those are things you like to see, especially the knees against a guy that's shorter. The reason why, because if their head is lower, it doesn't take a lot to get that knee to the head level. So the knees are something you really like to see from tall fighters against shorter fighters. Puts together combos, and he works the body well. Got a good tie clinch. In fact, I think that's one of his best weapons is that tie clinch, particularly because of the knees. He can drive into the body against guys that are about his height, but like I said, he'll drive those knees to the head against people that are way shorter. He's a good grappler as well. We've seen this guy with a pretty wide submission arsenal in just the short amount of fights he's had, as well as his amateur career. We've seen him jump on submissions very quick. He's very quick to attack the chokes. So for McVey, we haven't seen him go out of the first round, at least in his pro career. So we don't have a ton to go off of for how he's going to look late, how, basically how he deals with adversity, anything like that too much. But what we do know is that when he starts fast and in that first round, there's a lot to like. On the other side, it's similar for Ferreira. A lot of his fights end early, right? Now, a couple of them haven't, but a lot of his fights end early. The dude is a good striker with a ton of power. He feints really well, and he uses that to help him set up his ability to dart in and out of range. He'll feint, get somebody biting on some stuff, dart in range, land his shots, and then get back out. He has to do that because he's so much shorter than a lot of his competition. He does really good. Either stance is what he can find out. So you'll see him switch stances. You'll see him go southpaw, orthodox, doesn't matter, and he'll throw similar stuff from either stance. It's a good thing to see, especially for a shorter guy. He's got to mix up his ways to enter, his ways to land on these taller fighters with, different looks. So changing stance, feints, things like that. Those are good ways to make it so he can land on guys that are going to have a pretty big natural advantage on him. Now, he's got good grappling as well. The ground and pound is devastating, and he can actually scramble extremely well, especially when you look at him. You're not like, oh, this guy looks like a scrambly kind of guy. He's a very good scrambler. So for me, these two, I think this is a good matchup, honestly. I do. The odds don't suggest that. They don't. The lines are a bit different. And at +4 whatever on CloudBet, the guy with all the natural advantages, I'm going to take a shot, man. Let's go. We're going with Jackson McVey here. And I know that's a wild take. It's an extremely wild take. But we're going to take that wild take, start the card. I dropped my marker. We're going to start the card with a wild one. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. We'll see you in the next. Heavyweights up next. Ryan Spann takes on Lukasz Brzeski. And for me, whenever I see either of these two guys' names, typically it's just auto pick the other side. And that's worked out really well for me, considering both of them are 1-4 in their last 5 fights. But I can't do that here because they're fighting each other. So that's a problem. But when we look at these two, we got Brzeski. He was, he's a decent striker. He typically comes forward with a heavy leg kick, pretty good volume, but he'll spin a little bit too much, and that's not good. But he's not, ever since they took the sauce away from this guy, he hasn't looked the same. And I mean, allegedly the sauce, I guess, because I don't know that he ever failed a PED test, but maybe he did. But the dude definitely doesn't look the way he did when he came into the Contender Series versus now. So that's just me speculating. His grappling, decent. If he gets on top, he's got pretty good top control and ground and pound, but his takedown defense isn't very good. And the dude gets tired and just falls apart kind of. So there is that. On the other side, we got Ryan Spann. Decent striker because he's just a big, powerful dude. This dude has looked like he's just jacked out of his mind his whole career, but that's cool. But, that's not going to win you a fight typically. Throws a lot of single shots, doesn't really put much together. Decent grappler as well. The front chokes are there. He's got a tight squeeze. He starts really fast, and he's extremely athletic, but the dude's kill or be killed. He's a very poor nail. Good hammer, very poor nail. The dude does not handle adversity very well in a fight. He starts to just crumble when he doesn't get the finish early, and that's what you see. So it's really tough to call here, right? I don't really have a confident read on this one, as you can tell. This is a really, really tricky one to pick. The way that these two line up is, either guy could win at any point in this fight. I mean, it'd be wild to see Ryan Spann get a finish in the 3rd round, but it's possible. I guess I'll take Brzeski. The reason I'm going to take Brzeski is I think he's going to have more output, and I like the heavy leg kicks. And I don't know. I'll be cracking a root beer for this one. We're getting the root beers going early on the fight card. We're taking Brzeski. Let me know what you think. I'll see you. We've got another fight where typically when I see these guys on the card, I look at the opposite side and take that side. Neither of these guys are fighters you can trust, and here we are. We've got Jimmy Crute, who hasn't won a fight in nearly 5 years. I don't know what you guys were doing 5 years ago, but I know that at least some of the people watching this video right now were not even MMA fans 5 years ago. So that's interesting. Jimmy Crute has not won a fight since you've started watching, if you are one of those people. He's 0-3-2 in his last 5 fights. He's still here, though. On the other side, Prachnio. He's 2-3 in his last fight, so he got a couple of wins. I was probably wrong about 2 of those fights. So between these guys' last 10 fights combined, I was probably wrong about 2 of them. Interesting to know. For Prachnio, he's a good striker. He really is. He's a good striker. He has some flaws, but he's a good striker in general. The kicks are there, the leg kick in particular. He circles off really well. He can fight out of either stance. He's usually got pretty good volume, but he has a clear reset after exchanges. You'll see it. And watch the fight this week. If we get anywhere into the fight and we've got some striking exchanges, he'll do his striking, and then you'll see it. The arms do this when he resets. It's not good. It can be timed. People have timed it before, and it's not a good thing for him. His durability also just doesn't seem to be there anymore. The guy doesn't take punches like he used to. He gets a little more exhausted after he's been hit than he used to. So that's a thing. He's never been able to defend a takedown, and he still can't defend a takedown, and he makes poor decisions. Also, I understand he was tired, and I understand some people squeeze really hard, but you should not be able to finish an arm triangle across the body. Like, you can finish one from mount if you've got a really tight squeeze and really good at sucking away the pressure. That's fine. But from the opposite side, it shouldn't happen, right? Dude gets, especially not at the UFC level. His grappling defense is just bad. It's bad. Jim Crute, on the other hand, he's a decent striker with some power, and he's wild, which is good and bad, right? I think in this fight, it could be good because that wildness is not going to let the clear resets happen on the Prachnio side. Striking defense isn't too good, so that's a problem for him, but he is a decent grappler, and if he goes to this, he will have an advantage, big time, right? He has decent takedowns. He's got pretty good ground and pound with pretty good volume, but he struggles with top control. I think even somebody like Jimmy Crute, who struggles with top control, can control a guy like Marcin Prachnio, who just doesn't have grappling ability. I don't know who taught this guy to grapple. I don't know if he's ever taken a jiu-jitsu class in his life. I don't know. Maybe he has. Maybe I'm being too hard on him, but I just seeing the way that he works on the mat is just hard to watch. But his striking is good, Prachnio's. So he should be the cleaner striker here. I mean, that's not crazy to say, is it? I don't want to take either of these guys. I really don't. I'll just be drinking a root beer and watching this one. Something's telling me Jim Crute's going to go in there and just lay on top of him, and I think that he can get it done that way. Probably even sub him with the submission defense Prachnio has. So I don't know. We're going to take Jim Crute in this one, but golly, do I not want to take either of them. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you in the next fight. We got a welterweight matchup between Adam Fugitt and Islam Dulatov. Now, this fight, I believe, was booked once before, and Dulatov was forced to pull out. Don't remember the reason, but he was forced to pull out. When we look at these two, Fugitt, he's 3-2 in his last 5, 5-0 in the last 5 for Dulatov. He only has that one loss in the career, but that was quite some time ago. When we look at them skill for skill, Islam Dulatov, he's a solid striker who's light on the toes, has long, clean straights, good volume. The kicks and knees are some of his best weapons, specifically the kicks with the teep and the leg kick. He'll kind of rush in with a barrage, which I like the barrage sometimes. Other times, it allows a counter strike to be thrown by the opponent. That's something he's going to need to watch out for because he could get caught coming in on the barrage. Outside of that, the striking looks great. Now, in the grappling, he's pretty good there now, right? At one point, he was just a pure striker. He's picked up some grappling along the way. He's got a good sprawl and a good choke arsenal off that sprawl. If he gets on top, he's got pretty good top control as well. Again, that'll come from the sprawl. Maybe he'll go for the choke. If he doesn't get the choke, he'll rotate his opponent over, put them on their back, and get into side control and do what he needs to do from there. That's kind of the overall layout of his skill set, but there's going to be some changes because we haven't seen him in a long time. I imagine that this guy is still developing. I mean, he's had 12 professional fights. So, still relatively new in his MMA career, and we haven't seen him in quite some time because this is his debut after the original matchup between these two was canceled. He has not fought since his Contender Series fight way back when. Now, for Adam Fugitt, he's a good striker. He's got really good kicks and a fast head kick. Those are some things you want to see. I think that it's going to be tough to get the range on Dulatov, but he is a good counter striker as well, and he can catch a counter on one of those barrages that Dulatov has. So he is live for that there. His striking defense has let him down in the past, but he is a durable guy. So he is getting hit. He just usually can grit through it. Decent grappling. He mixes in takedowns at a pretty high volume to open up the strikes or just to get the takedown itself. He'll slam guys pretty hard when he goes for the slams or goes for the takedowns. Pretty good. He's a well-rounded fighter, right? But the striking is probably where he's more skilled, maybe. But he does use the wrestling at a pretty good volume. When I look at this fight, though, Cloudbet's got it listed at minus 575 for Dulatov. And as much as I want to tell you that's wide, I don't know that it will look wide at all come Saturday. So I'm going to go with Dulatov. I'm not saying there's value there, but I'm just saying that minus 575, I understand it. We're going with him. I think he's going to be able to put a clean striking performance in here, and I think he's going to do enough to defend the takedowns that are coming his way when they do come his way. And I think that Dulatov is going to put on a clinic in his debut. Let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next. We're at middleweight. We have Ateba Gautier. He's 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He's taken on Robert Valentin. He's 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Now, interesting fight here. Robert Valentin, he's a good striker. He's got power, he's got kicks, and a very dynamic attack. But one thing we've seen him struggle with is guys that give him heavy pressure. That's going to be a problem for him, especially in this fight. He does have good grappling, and he's definitely going to be the better grappler here. He's got good elbows in the ground and pound. He takes the back well, a really good rear naked choke. We've seen him get that in on people and finish some guys with it. But to get there, he's not really using takedowns. A lot of times he's hurting people on the feet and following them to the mat or getting the takedown because they're already kind of on the way down, and he's just getting them finished to the mat and then taking the back, going for the rear naked choke. He's got good sweeps from the bottom as well. His takedown defense has been lackluster thus far. But I do think if he gets it to the mat, Valentin's got a real chance for some serious success here. Now, for Gautier, good striker. Good power, volume, knees, and a beautiful head kick that he will set up with a good 1-2 right down the middle. So that 1-2 to head kick, boom, boom, there. The reason that's so successful is because you blind your opponent for a bit with that punch, right? That 2 into the head kick. You've already got the hip loaded and coming through. When you throw it, if they're already, oh shoot, there's that punch coming, then by the time they realize that the kick's there, it's too late. At least that's how I always kind of saw it. But whatever. So that 1-2 to the head kick, love to see it. The knees, the volume, the power. The dude hits like a truck. He starts really fast. Yes, he may slow down. He's done it on the regional scene. That is a problem for him. But the dude is freakishly athletic. Decent grappling. He's got really good ground and pound. Takedown defense kind of sucks, but he will just bounce right back to his feet. He's explosive, powerful, and gets back up. I'm sure he's working on the grappling. I'm sure that's coming along. The guy's young. He's still learning. He's still developing. But he is going to be outmatched on the ground. However, on the feet, I think he's going to be too much pressure, too much explosivity. Do I think it's a smart idea to jump on a massive favorite like Gautier? Probably not. But we're at a pay-per-view, and maybe I learned my lesson at 317. I got 4 picks wrong there because I was on way too many underdogs. That's okay. We're taking Gautier as the favorite, but we're just going to drink some root beer on this one, have a good time. I do think it's rough for Valentin. He's had a tough go at the UFC. They've given him some tough matchups, some guys that are real bad stylistic matchups for him here. At least they're giving him a striker in this one, but man, that's a tough one. Gautier's the pick. Let me know what you think. I'll see you in the next fight. We've got Francisco Prado taking on Nikolay Veretennikov at the welterweight division. Obviously, it still seems strange seeing Prado as a welterweight because he is quite too short for the division. But he is 2-3 in his last 5, 3-2 in the last 5 for Veretennikov. Interesting fight here, really competitive by my estimations. So for Veretennikov, he's a good striker with plenty of power. He's got good combinations, the 2-3 and the 3-2. Those are kind of his combinations he goes to for the most part, puts them together. You know, he can go 2-3-2, 3-2-3, etc. Lots of 2s, lots of 3s, all right? That's what we're seeing. He does get pulled into wars, though, and that's something that can be good or bad for him. He will get sucked into just, you know what, we're gonna throw down right now. And that's okay. It makes for a fun fight, which this should be. By all intents and purposes, this should be a very fun matchup. I hope you have some root beer on hand to crack a couple open. He's a decent grappler when he gets on top, but when he's off his back, not so much. His top pressure's there. Very, very weak off the back, as we saw in the last fight where he took on Austin Vanderford and just got mauled on the ground. Mauled. I understand Vanderford's a pretty darn good wrestler, but mauled is what happened. For Prado, good striker, right? He's got plenty of power, good head kick, really heavy leg kick, but zero striking defense. That head stays right on the center line and is extremely hittable. Yes, he's durable, but your defense shouldn't be, well, I can take a bunch of punches. That's a horrible career move, right? And he's young. He's like 20-something years old. And he's already just, I'm going to block as many with my face as I can and weather the storm to get in. Sure, that could work for him here because, like we said, Veretennikov is live to get sucked into a brawl. Is that what you want? I don't know. It's a tricky one here. He's a decent grappler. We've seen him use his ability to just pick guys up and slam them. Because the dude's a powerhouse. He could do that here. That's something that we could see. And if he does that and gets on top, that could be an advantage for him. But I think we're going to see these guys go in there and just swing hammers at each other. So it's tricky. And this is a fight where you're going to want to tune into the panel this week. I believe it is we're at 318, so we're over on Couch Warriors channel. You don't want to tune into the panel because there's a chance that my opinion sways on this fight. That's likely going to be Thursday at 9 p.m. or 9:15 p.m. maybe, Eastern Standard or Eastern Daylight Time. Sorry, it's daylight time right now. Over on the Couch Warriors channel. That's the panel. But for now, I'm going to give you a pick for now. Give me the bounce back for Prado. I am going to hope that he's improving at least a little bit and can go out there and maybe mix in some of the grappling and move the head even a little. But let me know what you think. I'll see you in the next fight. Got a really interesting one at middleweight. Marvin Vettori and Brendan Allen. Now, why is this really interesting, you say? Well, these two kind of have some legitimate beef. There were some altercations backstage at an event, from my understanding, and it sounds like they might have thrown some punches. I didn't see any video proof. Maybe there was some. I didn't see it. But it sounds like these two really don't like each other. So that's interesting. It makes the fight a little more interesting. Not saying that fighters should go out there and start fighting in the back, but it makes me interested, right? And I feel like it's probably the same for you. 2-3 in the last 5 for Vettori, 3-2 in the last 5 for Allen. Now, Vettori, he's had some injuries as of late. Allen, he's fighting in front of his home crowd. Maybe those two things play into this. Maybe they don't. Well, let's look at Brendan Allen. He's a good striker. He doesn't work so well going backwards, but moving forward, he's a lot better. He's got a really good body kick. I love the combinations, and he's got pretty good output on the feet. I think as far as who's the cleaner striker, it's probably Brendan Allen, but I do think he needs to go forward because if he starts going backwards, that's when his striking kind of falls apart. In the grappling, he's a solid grappler. He's got good takedowns, really good scrambles. His back takes are solid, and he can get that rear naked choke on most guys. Also has great cardio. So Brendan Allen has a lot to like. For Vettori, it's not the prettiest striking. It's decent. It's not the prettiest. He's got good forward pressure and good volume, and he's a zombie. Dude's just going to keep on coming, eating your shots because he's durable as all get out. The dude's got a head like a block of cement. So the forward pressure could be a problem for that not so good moving backwards for Allen. It's not like he can't, strike you moving backwards or whatever, but it's just not as good. And I think that Vettori can actually make Allen move backwards at times, and I do think he can cause him some trouble there. But I also think that because Vettori doesn't really block a whole lot and just eats stuff with his head, he's going to get hit. So it's going to be a tricky one to call on the feet. Even though Brendan Allen's the cleaner, better striker, like I said, it's just the style makes it a little tricky. In the grappling, Marvin Vettori's pretty good. He's mostly the cage push. He's got a really good cage push and is a grinder there. Now, he can get takedowns. They're decent. He's got pretty good top control, and he's got pretty good takedown defense as well. But the cage push, I think, is his best bet. You don't want to be on the mat grappling with a guy like Brendan Allen typically. But I do think up against the cage, that's somewhere he can have some success. He's got good cardio as well. I think it's going to be a good fight for 3 rounds, and I say that thinking that we're probably going to go to decision. And the reason that I think that Brendan Allen is getting this one done is because Marvin Vettori doesn't block anything. And I think he's going to get hit a ton. It's going to be hard to knock out Marvin Vettori. I don't know that, at least not yet. I don't think he's taken enough damage to get to the point where he's just going to start crumbling. But, Brendan Allen probably gets the win. Home state, I think he's probably at better form in his career at this point. He's only losing to some of the best guys. I think it's a Brendan Allen spot. But at the same time, going to be fun. I do like the added little mix of these guys having some beef, so that's cool. But let me know what you guys think, and I will see you in the next 35 pounds. Vinicius Oliveira takes on Phillips. This is a fantastic matchup here. Fun fight all around. Phillips 3-2 in his last 5, 5-0 for Oliveira. Should be a competitive fight. When we look at this one here, Oliveira is a solid striker with a ton of power. He's got really good kicks to all levels, especially that leg kick, and a really dynamic attack. But he will keep his hands kind of low, and that's something that I'm not a big fan of. He hasn't really bit him, obviously, recently. The dude's 5-0 in his last 5, but it is something that you do have to worry about a little bit. He's a good grappler as well with very vicious ground and pound. He's got a pretty good submission arsenal and decent takedowns if he needs to use them. On the other side, he's fighting a guy in Phillips, who's a solid striker in his own right. He's got a very dynamic attack, good combinations, really solid kicking arsenal, but sometimes he can get a bit too flashy, and that's cost him a bit in the past because it will make you tired doing all these flashy maneuvers, right? So it's a give and take, because the flashy maneuvers look cool. They please the crowd, they please the judges, but when you don't land them, or you don't, or if you use too many of them, you can get tired. On the grappling, dude's a good grappler, right? He's got pretty good timing on his takedowns. Ground and pound is good, and he's very opportunistic with his submission game. It's kind of an interesting matchup here, because a lot of people are down on Phillips, and I can see why. Coming in a couple of losses recently, he's a guy that was thought to be a pretty good prospect, and a lot of people are really high on Oliveira, which also makes a whole lot of sense. But at the same time, could this be a bounce back spot for a guy like Phillips? It absolutely could. Or could this just be Vinicius Oliveira is absolutely the truth, and he beat another really good fighter. I don't really like fights where you've got a guy on a couple of losses versus a guy that's got a bunch of wins going, because typically you want guys coming off of losses and guys coming off of wins fighting each other, so that way you don't just bury somebody too far and then, whatever, unless the UFC is done with them. If they're done with someone, then you put them on a losing streak and then send them packing. I don't know that they're done with Phillips. It's not like he's, washed up or anything. He's just lost to a couple of really good fighters recently. And that's not something that, you want to... He's not someone that you'd want to get rid of after like 3 losses, but they put themselves in a situation where they could here if Oliveira wins. Or if Phillips wins, this is kind of a lose-lose situation for the UFC, because he derails the hype of Oliveira, and that was a guy that's got a couple of losses recently, so that doesn't help. So I don't know that I like the matchmaking here as far as how that works out, but I do think that this is a fun stylistic matchup. So, whatever. You guys probably didn't care for that rant, but let me know if you did. Either way, I'm going to lean Oliveira. I like the momentum for the guy. I think he's going to have a little more impact in his strikes. I think he's going to have a little bit more impact in the even the grappling. But I do think that someone like Phillips has the ability to get this one done, and I do think that maybe there's a little value there. I don't know. I'm still going to go Oliveira for this one. I like the momentum. Let me know what you guys think. It's a close fight. We're cracking root beers. I'll see you in a couple of lightweights in this one here. Michael Johnson takes on Daniel Zellhuber. Now, both these guys are 3-2 in their last 5 fights. Now, similarly to the 3-2, Michael Johnson's record shows a similar progression throughout his career, because he's a guy who could beat anyone, even the best in the division. In fact, he has a win over one of the guys in the main event on this card here, but he also could lose to just about anybody in the division on any given night. He's not the most consistent fighter as far as what he actually does in the cage. That makes him a tricky guy to break down. On the other hand, Daniel Zellhuber, he's got a couple of losses. He had one loss that was a really bad loss outside because he just didn't look like himself, but that was one of those, you're new in the UFC, this type of thing. Outside of that, he's looked pretty good, right? Lost a really close decision in that other loss. Could have gone either way. So when we look at this one here, for Daniel Zellhuber, 15-2 on the career, bright young prospect, taking on grizzled veteran, 50-50 grizzled veteran who's been around for ages. Daniel Zellhuber, solid striker, uses the range really well, sticks his jab, nice head kick, puts together crisp combinations. He's got good head movement, and he's durable. All things you like to see. Now, good grappler as well. He's got solid takedown defense. He likes to seek the finish with either ground and pound or submission, and he'll chain them together. He's got a solid set of front chokes to go along with his takedown defense, all that good stuff. There's a lot to like about Zellhuber, but he has had a couple of he had one performance where you're like, what is it? What's going on with this guy? I assume that's in the past. Since then, he's looked pretty good. Now, on the other hand, Michael Johnson, dude's a good striker. He has the power to knock out just about anybody. Good volume most of the time, and he can counter-strike extremely well. He's a good decent grappler. He's a good wrestler, but the submission defense is what lets him down and brings him down on that. He does have a tendency to put himself in bad submission positions, but decent takedowns, pretty solid takedown defense. I think we get a striking fight here. I don't think that's crazy to say. I think either Michael Johnson wins by cracking Zellhuber and putting him down and finishing him out, or Zellhuber probably outpoints him to a decision. I think that is more likely. And it's not just because Michael Johnson is old. Let me know how your boy Chitty did, huh? It's not a pick against the old guy. It's because I think Zellhuber is going to be able to control range, land the shots, pick his shots, and just not get knocked out. And I think Michael Johnson needs to be able to land those big power shots on a guy like Zellhuber or grapple him. But I think the takedown defense is enough from Zellhuber. I see that's why the line is the way it is. I understand that this would be the best win of Zellhuber's career. This is a big name over a guy who's been around the UFC for a long time. Guy that's 3-2 in his last 5, still at this point in his career, is impressive. I understand that the line on Zellhuber says that he is way too big of a favorite. I get that, but I do think he wins this fight. Zellhuber is the pick, but be cautious on the parlays. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you in the next. We got a featherweight matchup here between Dan Ige and Patricio Pitbull. Both of these guys are 2-3 in their last 5, and you would say that's probably not the best, but it's kind of different stuff, like different levels of competition, making weight cuts to a weight class that he shouldn't have been in for a while there, or for a matchup there. Super short notice fights, like the same day type. So, there's some stuff. But 2-3, both are still skilled fighters. Patricio Pitbull, he's making his sophomore appearance in the UFC. That debut was rough. I understand. I don't think that's the same Patricio Pitbull you're going to get. I think that there is something to be said about debut fights in the UFC, especially when you come over with a lot of buzz from another big promotion or a decent-sized promotion. It's tough. It's really tough. So there it is. So Patricio didn't do super well in that one. Ige, dude's a bad dude, man. He's a bad dude. He'll go out there and he'll fight anybody at any time, and you like to see it. Let's break down this fight here. It's a solid striker. It's solid grappler. Solid everywhere is Patricio Pitbull. When we look at his skills, like, he's got power. He's really good at darting in and out of range. He's typically the shorter fighter in just about every fight. He has been pretty much his entire career. So because of that, he has to be really good at getting in and out of range. He's got good counter strikes, head movements there, combinations, heavy calf kick, but he can be too patient. That's his biggest problem on the feet. The volume just doesn't usually come from him because he's too patient. It's his biggest downfall on the feet. Because if this dude starts cracking you, I mean, he could knock out a horse, but it's hard. Like, he's got to cover a lot of distance. He's going to have to draw his opponents in most of the time, because if him just coming forward like that, he's going to get cracked. So he says, okay, I've got to get them to come in, and that's why his volume ends up being lower. It's a problem, but if you engage with him in his game plan, looks pretty good. There's just those issues, right? Solid grappler as well. He used to use takedowns more often. He hasn't used them in quite some time as like a primary part of his game. He'll mix them in every now and then, but going in with a wrestling-heavy game plan isn't something he's done in a long time. But he still has a nasty guillotine. We'll see him still go for that if he gets a hold of someone's head. Very, very heavy ground and pound, and his takedown defense is pretty solid. Now, if he decides to wrestle here, that is a path to victory for him, but it's just, to what level is he able to wrestle a guy like Dan Ige, who does generally have good takedown defense? We'll cover that in a minute. There's a lot of things that leave question marks in my head for Patricio Pitbull. When we look at Dan Ige, solid striker with good power, works the body really well, he's got a good leg kick, and he's super durable. You're really going to have to work to crack this guy and put him down. So I do think that if you are backing Dan Ige, I mean, you don't usually have to worry about him getting flash KO'd, which is a thing that can happen to most fighters. The dude's so tough. So I don't think you got to worry about that. If he's going to lose, he's getting controlled on the mat. He's, just getting outpointed, things like that. But you don't have to worry about him just, he just got caught. That's rarely unlikely. Now, could it happen? Sure, he's fighting a guy in Patricio Pitbull who can hit very hard, but usually, historically speaking, Dan Ige is very durable. Decent grappler is Ige. He does sometimes get stuck on bottom and just kind of get held down, but generally, his takedown defense is pretty good. He does have some decent jiu-jitsu. It's just it doesn't really seem to translate to his MMA fights, so I don't really know what's up with that, but the guy can grapple. It's just at the UFC level, sometimes you're fighting guys like Patricio Pitbull who are extremely solid grapplers. Now, I'm tempted. You can get Patricio Pitbull at about plus 168, I think it is, over on CloudBet. And if you can get that number, it makes it really tough not to want to go with him. But at the same time, I start to look at this, 36-8. And I say, my goodness, dude's had a lot of fights. And he's been undersized in a lot of those fights. And he's taken a lot of heavy shots in a lot of those fights. And he's been doing this thing for a long time at high levels. And then I look over here and I'm like, Dan Ige, 19-9. It's not like he's a sprint, but he kind of still is in comparison, right? And it makes me think maybe Patricio Pitbull is going to struggle at the UFC level because he got here too late. And I'm not saying like, he's just too old to get it done. I'm saying He's got a lot of miles. Dude's just now getting to the highest level of the sport. This fight gives me a lot of trouble because I want to pick Pitbull. I like Pitbull a lot. And I think skill for skill, I think the guy has more skill. But I think it's going to be another one of those things where he's not going to have enough volume. Ige's going to look better because he's doing more. And unless we see Pitbull start going for takedowns, I think he's going to struggle. I had a Pitbull pick marked on my notebook, and I switched it right before this recording because I think it's going to be another one of those things where I'm disappointed at the end of the fight, and Pitbull didn't show up the way that I expect him to show up because I'm thinking he's going to show up like Pitbull from, 2018. So, I regrettably am going to take Danny Ige, and I'm just going to sit and watch this one as a fan. Probably be bummed out either way. Like if Danny Ige loses, I'm bummed out. I got the pick wrong, and I got to hear you guys tell me how much I suck. And if Danny Ige wins and I get the pick right, I'll be bummed out because Patricio Pitbull is 0-2 in the UFC, and that sucks. So either way, this sucks. Let me know what you guys think. I dropped my marker again. I'll see you in the next fight. Believe it or not, this is a rebooked fight from UFC 279, maybe? 279, I believe. Yeah, we're going to say that. Kevin Holland takes on Daniel Rodriguez. 3-2 in the last 5 for Holland, 2-3 for Daniel Rodriguez. Now, if you remember, these guys were scheduled way back when. The Khamzat Chimaev situation messed that whole card up, and then somehow Holland fought Chimaev, Rodriguez fought Li Jingliang, got the win, and everybody thought Li got robbed, myself included. It was kind of a thing, but either way, here we are. We're back at it. These guys are fighting in what should be a good striking matchup between the two of them. For Daniel Rodriguez, he is a boxer for the most part in MMA. He's got good striking with a solid jab and good movement. That's what he's going to do most of the time. He's got good volume. He'll stick to the basics. Now, this is a good thing because he doesn't get outside of his comfort zone. He doesn't get outside of his range. He does what he's good at, and that's box, volume heavy, comes off the jab type of stuff like that. I like that. That's a good style for him. You know you're not going to get him going out there and doing anything silly that's going to get him caught. He's going to fight to a good, smart, boxing-heavy game plan. Now, he does have decent grappling, and he's quick on a front choke. If guys shoot in on him with a sloppy takedown, he's got a decent sprawl out, get that front choke going, whether it be a, Doris Anaconda, whatever. You know what a front choke is. Point is, for Daniel Rodriguez, he does have that in the back pocket. I don't really think Holland's going to go out there and shoot a bunch of takedowns. I think he's probably going to be content to strike with Rodriguez. And because of that, I think Kevin Holland has more tools in the striking. He is a solid striker. He controls range very well, and he does have the natural advantage of just having super lanky arms. So that's something that helps him a lot. He's got a ton of power, but not because he's just like this big brute. It's because at the end of that punch, because his arms are so long, it's almost like the crack of a whip, right? Because at the end of that whip, you get that extra force because the longer the whip is, the harder that snap at the end. That's because he's got those long arms that just come out and boom, just right there. The distance builds up the force, if that makes sense. I don't know. Somebody can explain it in the comments better than I can, I'm sure. He's extremely accurate with his punches. He's got very fast hands, and his striking defense does not get enough credit. The dude doesn't get hit flush a lot. Outside of the Wonder Boy fight, that was a little different. But outside of that, he doesn't get hit flush a lot. The dude is really good about getting out of range or even just rolling with it. You don't see Kevin Holland taking a lot of really heavy shots and heavy damage in fights on the feet. So, a lot of stuff I like in their striking. If he needs to, he can grapple. He does have good jiu-jitsu. He's got good sweeps and scrambles. He's active from his back, although he can get held down and his takedown defense isn't the best. He's still active from the bottom when it's not at middleweight. He's also got good submissions, especially the front chokes. Much like I mentioned with Daniel Rodriguez, I think Kevin Holland takes that to a new level. His front chokes are top tier, right? So I don't know that we get the grappling going between the two. I think we get a striking matchup. And although Daniel Rodriguez has some good boxing, I don't think he's in danger of knocking out Kevin Holland. And for Kevin Holland, he definitely could knock out just about anybody. Plus, I think his toolbox is going to be a little bit bigger. So for that, give me Kevin Holland. I think he gets this one done. It's weird seeing him as a big favorite, but it is what it is. I'm taking Kevin Holland. Let me know what you think. I'll see you next up. Middleweights. Paulo Costa takes on Roman Kopylov. Now, these guys, a little bit of opposite trajectories in the last 5. 4-1 for Kopylov, 1-4 for Costa. Now, Costa arguably has been fighting the better level of competition. He's fought some of the best guys in the division. I understand that. But when your one win is over a Luke Rockhold who was both feet out the door at that point, that's not a good sign. So Costa, although has fought the better competition, man, that's rough. Like, that's a rough run to be on. On the other hand, Kopylov, yeah, I mean, sure, he's lost one of those 5, but he's also beaten some pretty decent guys on the way up. He's looked pretty good doing it. So it's just kind of where's each of these guys, in their career. So let's look at it. So skill for skill, we're looking at striking right now for Kopylov. I think he's a solid striker. He's got tight defense, clean straight punches, and a solid jab. I think he has a good mix of combinations and single shots and keeps guys guessing because of that. He works the body well, has kicks to all levels, and he uses feints effectively. So a lot of stuff to like in the striking. Grappling, it's decent, right? He's got decent takedown defense. He has decent takedowns. We saw him go to a grappling game plan when he fought Almeida. That was a good idea, and it worked really well for him. He's got decent top pressure. So, yeah, there's some stuff to like in the grappling, but it's not his best weapon, and I don't think he's going to use that to beat Costa. I think he needs to keep this on the feet, and I think that's what he plans to do. Striking is how he gets it done generally, and I think that's what he needs to do against Costa. Against Costa here, Costa's a good striker in his own right. He's got good combination. He puts punches and kicks together. He rips the body really well. Now, he used to be known as the eraser because he's a powerful guy. I took power off the board. I erased power. Why did I do that? Dude hasn't been knocking anybody out in a long time. He didn't even knock out Luke Rockhold. So there you go. The power's gone, or at least he doesn't seem to have the power anymore. I don't know what's up. But still got good kicks. He does just corner his opponents and just unload on him. So that's kind of his style. The lead hook used to be what got it done. I still put that up there because it is still a good punch for him. But he's tough as heck. Dude's durable. He's not going to quit on himself. Even when he's tired, he'll fight through that fatigue. So a lot to like for Costa, but I don't know where the power went. I just don't. He's a good grappler. Nasty guillotine. This dude's got arms that are so massive that sometimes I'm sure his shirts don't fit around them biceps. So he's probably got to just like rip the sleeves to make it so they can fit through. And like when you've got arms that big, you don't even necessarily have to have the guillotine on just right. You just kind of squeeze that sucker and their head pops like a pimple. So I can understand that, the nasty guillotine there from Costa. Dude's got heavy ground and pound. And he's got pretty good takedown defense that I don't think he gets enough credit for. He's really hard to hold down and control. So realistically, I think this probably ends up in a striking matchup. Costa's been more about having a fun fight lately than winning fights, as you can see. And I think that is why we're going to get a striking matchup. And in a striking matchup, I've got to go Kopylov. I mean, But we'll take Kopylov to get it done. If Costa pulled it off, I wouldn't be mega surprised, especially if he went out there and, fought like he really wanted to be here again. But we haven't seen it lately. We're taking Kopylov. Let me know what you think. I'll see you in the next big-time main event for Poirier's retirement fight in his home state of Louisiana. Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier, 3-2 for Holloway in the last 5, 2-3 for Poirier in the last 5. Cloudbet's got it -124, +108. Those odds are close. I understand. That makes a lot of sense to me. Close line between a couple of guys who are both at the at the stage in their career where they're well established. We know what we're going to get from these guys. We're not still figuring them out, right? They've been around a long time. In fact, these guys have already fought twice. First fight ever in the UFC for Max Holloway was his debut against Dustin Poirier. They fought again for the interim lightweight championship when Max Holloway moved up on short notice to fight Dustin Poirier. And Poirier's up 2-0. So that's interesting. That's something to think about. Yeah, I got this a little full. I was going to do a separate video for these guys, but I decided I'm going to put it in with this. The content schedule is a little bit busy this week. You will see the live stream with me and Pick'em. I swear, if you're in the comments nagging us about the timestamps, I'm not going to put a timestamp on a live stream. It's a pain in the butt. It's a combination, or it's just a conversation between a couple of guys that are just chatting about fights. We're not there. We're not doing individual breakdowns. Watch it or don't. I don't care. But we're not going to do timestamps on the live streams. I will do it for this video. I always do, just not live streams. Now, with that said, I put this one in the video here. Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier, very good fight, very close fight. Although one guy being up 2-0 doesn't make you think that it should be a close fight, but it is. Now, when we look at this here, for Dustin Poirier, we're going to start on that side. He's a solid striker. He's aggressive in the pocket. In fact, in the pocket, this dude can beat just about anybody. He's got a really good block and return style. So he'll block the shot, and he'll swing back with a heavy punch. Dude's got power to put it back on you. He can put together combinations, and his combinations, he'll mix together punches from different angles. Maybe he'll throw an uppercut, a hook. He'll mix things up really well in his combinations while in the pocket, and he'll do this off of a block. So he'll let you throw, block it, and then come back on that same spot that you just hit. So, for example, say you throw that lead hook at a guy like Dustin Poirier, and he blocks it here. He says, okay, great. That hand's already extended from the lead hook. I'm going to shoot a punch straight back down the pipe at him while he's trying to bring his hook back. Boom, block and return works really well. He does that better than most people. The volume's there. He fights out of either stance. He can work the body extremely well, but his big problem is he can get sucked into a brawl. And if we get a Dustin Poirier, Max Holloway 5-round brawl, this card is made. That's what we want. That's going to be so much fun. That's going to be a blast. Just think about it. Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier 3. We get these guys for 25 minutes in there slanging and banging, throwing punches, throwing kicks, beating each other up, and just going for it. Sure, might shorten their life expectancy by a little bit, but by golly, the fans are going to love it, and it's going to make them live on forever in the history books as one of the more fun fights we've ever seen, at least in my opinion. Now, one problem for Dustin Poirier is if he's met with a lot of heavy pressure, he will back up. I don't know that he's going to have that problem here, though. Holloway's not just going to come forward like a brute, right? He'll come forward, don't get me wrong, but he's not just going to heavy press you back up against the cage. He's going to dance around a little bit. He'll move. So I don't think we got to worry about this too much. It's just something to make note of in case that is the game plan for Holloway. But with that said, I think we do see a brawl at some point. I think it's going to be really fun to watch, and Dustin Poirier is a solid striker. In the grappling, he's a solid grappler. In fact, I do think that Poirier is the better grappler of the two. He's got opportunistic takedowns, good sweeps, good ground and pound, in which he'll use that ground and pound to advance his position. He'll start landing the shots, and then as soon as you start to cover up and block the shots instead of worry about the hips, that's when he moves to advance his position. It's a smart way to advance in MMA because you don't have to do it purely based on the skill, and it doesn't take as much time. You can open up your spots by hurting your opponent. He has a solid submission arsenal. Sometimes he will jump for guillotines, which is horrible. He does not have a good guillotine whatsoever because he never landed one and finished it. But he thinks he does, and he loves to jump for him. But either way, if he guillotines Max Holloway, my mind will explode. I don't think he's going to sub Max, but he did do it in their first fight, so that is something to take into account. They'll chain his submission attempts together, but he's very much finish over position on the mat. Now, I will say, if he comes in with a grappling-heavy game plan, he should probably be able to get it done. I understand Max is a good, grappler, can stop takedowns pretty well, but at the same time, Poirier is good on the feet and probably the better grappler between the two. Like I said, in their first fight, he showed that. But I do think we're getting a striking match for the most part. On the other side, we got Max Holloway. He's a solid striker as well. I'd say he probably is a better technical boxer than Poirier, but I think Poirier might mix things up just a little bit better than Holloway. When we look at Max Holloway, and the power is going to Poirier for sure. When we look at Max Holloway, he's got very good movement, right? Very good movement. Laterally, forward and back, all that stuff. He moves well. He's got good head movement to go along with it and a clean jab. That's something you like to see. He's got a lot of volume. In fact, this dude holds most of the records for volume, like in single fights. This dude is putting up numbers that are absolutely unheard of. So volume edge definitely goes to Holloway. In fact, in their second fight, the volume went to Holloway. It's just the shots that Poirier was landing were way harder. There's an asterisk there because that was one of those things where Holloway was down at featherweight doing his thing. Featherweight champion at the time, I do believe, and he stepped up on short notice. So he's still in his featherweight frame, stepping up on short notice to fight a guy up a weight class who is legitimately the number one contender at the time for the title. Title fight didn't happen. Now they made an interim title, yada, yada. You get the picture. Holloway steps in. Yeah, that makes sense that he's not going to have enough power to go against a guy that's naturally in that weight class. He's bulked up better. He looked a lot more suited for the division when he fought Gaethje, but then he moved back down to fight the Poirier. It's a whole thing. So I don't know. We don't really know where he's going to be at, but I assume he's bulked back up like he wanted to initially. He did say he's done with the featherweight division. Either way, Holloway's going to work the body at times. He's got good ability to work out either stance. The side kick to the leg is nice because it'll set up his boxing combinations. He'll just kind of stomp at that knee a little bit with that side kick. Not the I'm going to stomp like Roundtree style, but the he'll kick that knee and try to buckle it a little bit. And that's something you like to see against a guy that's going to come forward, as Poirier probably will. Now, the feints from Holloway, you love to see those. He's very good with those. The problem is he's also willing to brawl. So with these two both being willing to brawl, by golly, I think it's pretty likely we might see a brawl. I mean, right? Right? Am I crazy? Is that too easy? Is that just too we're probably going to see a brawl between these two guys? It just seems like it's just written right there. That's what we're going to get, but maybe I'm tripping. Either way, Holloway doesn't really defend leg kicks. He just eats them. Dude's got those dad calves. He's got strong legs. Yeah, Poirier is about the only guy that's really made him pay for that, but typically we'll just eat him and just counter with boxing. He'll get the leg kick, boom, 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 come over the top with his punches, does a good job. So for me, it hasn't been a big problem, but I could see it being a problem at some point. It has been a problem once, but that's about it. Holloway's not bad in the grappling either. He's got good takedown defense. He's pretty good in general. He's got a slick foot sweep. He'll use that sometimes. Submission defense is there. He's got a decent guillotine, but we haven't seen it in ages. So I don't really know if it counts. But technically, he's got more guillotine wins than the guy that keeps jumping him. So there is that. He has insane cardio. The dude's never getting tired. Some of the best cardio in the UFC. Obviously, you got guys like Marab that just don't have any sort of, like, it's just unlimited gas tank. But Holloway's right up there. Like, right up there. In the top 10 for sure. Top 5, I would say. Yeah, you can argue with that in the comments if you want. Give me who else you think the top 5 are, but I think Holloway's in it. Let me know. But for me, this is a really close fight. I don't want to muddy this one up by even making a pick because I'm just having a good time watching this fight is what I'm thinking is going to happen. I'm going to enjoy this brawl that we're going to get between these two guys, two legends of the sport, two legends of the UFC, division, whatever, in their trifecta matchup. The thing that finally gets me to tip to one side, it just seems too much like a gosh darn fairy tale for Dustin Poirier to go in his retirement fight in his home state of Louisiana and get a win over Max Holloway. That just seems too much like a fairy tale. 3-0 over Max Holloway, retires, home state, sets down the gloves. I think Max gets it done on the scorecards 3-2. That's what I think happens. Much like his last 5 fights, it's going to be a 3-2. Max Holloway, he wins probably rounds 1, 3, 5. We're getting real specific. That's my guess. Is wins rounds 1, 3, and 5. We get a close one. Maybe it's a split decision. Maybe rounds 1 and 5 are clear. Rounds 2 and 4 are clear. And round 3 is the swing round. Something like that. We've seen it so many times. It's going to be close. I'm just going to watch this one. I think we get a decision. Maybe not, but I think we get a decision. Let's go Max Holloway. Hey, thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to tune in to the live stream if you want to watch it live. That is fantastic. If you don't want to watch it live, you can watch it later, but don't bitch about the timestamps. That's super annoying. I will see you guys on the PFL live stream. Hopefully, we have a panel show. Couch Warrior is getting married pretty soon. So, since it's on his channel this week, there is a chance that doesn't happen. There's a chance. Thanks for using my promo code 138MMA. It does help the channel a ton. So, thank you. The few of you that have so far are legends. I appreciate it. So thank you guys again. I'm rambling. I'll see you guys down the road.